So since we have a long way to go to the end of the text, I maybe not necessary to read sentence by sentence. I just choose the important points. So the first section deals with what is called Asubha Bhavana, meditation on the impure. Actually, Bhavana I would rather translate as a cultivation of the impure. Now, I have mentioned before, it is a tradition in the Northern Buddhism, it is tradition in the Southern Buddhism also, to prepare the meditators for vipassana by the so-called protective meditations. In the Theravada tradition, we have the Asubha is also a protective meditation. The Metta is another protective meditation. For Asubha, especially for the characters that are tending to clinging, who have greed, so-called raga charitas. Metta for the dvesha charitas, for those who are hateful. Then you have the meditation on the Buddha, the recollection of the Buddha, Buddha Anusati, to encourage oneself and for increasing the faith. These are the standard meditations that everybody learns. Also meditation on the death, to mention the four so-called arakha bhavanas. Meditation on the death, because before going to vipassana, before going to shamatha, one will be usually the methods of meditation will be chosen as described also in Visuddhimagga according to one's character. So the raga charitas, the teacher should always give the Asubha Bhavana before allowing them to practice deep meditation and vipassana. According to Visuddhimagga, the Visuddhimagga divides the meditators into 6 classes. The Raga Charitas, then Sada Charitas, and Raga Charitas, they are connected. Raga Charita on the negative side, Sada Charita on the positive side, those who are inspired by faith. Then the hateful charita, dosa charita, which is related to the panya charita, according to Visuddhimagga. Same principle you will find in the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra. You have classification of the meditators according to their predominant tendencies, conduct. Now, here we have, for example, in Abhidharmakosa, I have already mentioned, you have the meditation on Asubha and meditation on Anapana, on breath. The meditation on Asubha is for the What is going on? Raga Charita and the meditation on the breath is for Ditti Charita. So Raga Charita, Ditti Charita, they are the predominant tendencies. Either we have attachment to the sensuality, sexual attachments, or we have attachment to the views, and even attachment to the Dharma. In Buddhism, even the attachment to the Dharma finally has to be abandoned. First attachment to non-Dharma, then attachment to Dharma, finally everything has to be abandoned. Now, in order to enter the meditation, the condition for the Samadhi Shiksha, for learning the Samadhi, is the Sila Shiksha. Sila Shiksha. So here it is mentioned also very briefly. First, the teacher will inquire if the 5 precepts, which is the most basic precepts for all Buddhists, if they have been kept pure. When the 5 precepts have been kept pure, then the one is marching on the way of the Dasa Kusala Kamapatha, the 10 healthy ways of conduct, and one is established in the Sila, in the discipline. Very important, the perfection in discipline belongs to the realized person, to the Buddha, not to an ordinary person. This is also, you will find it in Agamas. For example, the Samudra Sutta, Salayatana Samyutta teaches that there are 6 oceans and there are 6 senses. One who can tolerate the waves in the ocean of the eye until the waves in the ocean of the mind, the waves in the form of colors until the waves in the form of mental objects of the Dhammas. He can cross the great ocean. That means he is a Buddha. Similarly, if one has mastered Samadhi, and the ultimate Samadhi is this liberating Samadhi. In Indian tradition, to be liberated means to enter a Samadhi which is continuous. A Buddha cannot lose Samadhi. If he loses Samadhi, he will give rise to unwholesome conditioning. So ultimately also Samadhi Shiksha, Panya Shiksha, when they complete it together and one becomes a Buddha. Same for the disciple Buddha, for the Pratyeka Buddha, and for the perfectly enlightened Buddha. So here we have introductory text to meditation. So the author is not concerned with the silas, but the sila is still presented as a base. Yogacara Bhumi Shastra says that without the sila, impossible to cultivate samadhi. Without cultivating samadhi, and without the kalyana mitra, without the noble friend, it is impossible to cultivate deep wisdom. So these three Shikshas are interconnected. Here we are concerned especially with the Samadhi Shiksha. But the Samadhi Shiksha, and we will see in the text, it is on many places, it is also mentioned, especially in Northern tradition. Southern tradition tends to separate the shamatha and vipassana. Northern tradition, from even in Abhidharmakosa, already you have the tendency of uniting the training in shamatha and with the training in vipassana. And it is the practice of mindfulness which unites them. In the Northern tradition, the mindfulness is based in wisdom. Yet it contains samadhi. Now, samadhi is a bhavana, is a cultivation. According to Buddhist Abhidharma, in Abhidharmakosa, in Theravada Abhidharma, every thought, in order to continue, needs a samadhi, basic samadhi. It is among the Mahabhumika Chaita. It is among the mental factors which are in every state of cognition, inseparable from any cognition whatsoever. Same in Theravada. They are among the seven factors present in each and every mind. But samadhi also is the content of liberation. So from the practice of samadhi or meditation is actually the cultivation of samadhi, and bhavana, this very word which translates from Indian languages the concept of meditation, is actually cultivation, is becoming. Meditation is becoming. In order to become samadhi, we need sila. In order to become wisdom, we need samadhi. When wisdom has ripened, automatically samadhi has ripened and the silas have ripened. But the silas does not mean that all the minor precepts are being kept. Silas means actually the state of discipline, disciplining the senses. So when the 5 precepts have been kept pure, that means one is disciplining the senses. This is the meaning. So one is ready for training in meditation, for becoming samadhi. And to become samadhi, to become wisdom, according to Buddhism, the cause of our discontent is tanha, is thirst. And we have thirst, the most common, easy to see manifestation of thirst is the sensual desire. So first thing to reduce in order to enter into the training in samadhi, into becoming samadhi, is to reduce our greed, our kama raga. Kama raga is also, as we will see, the first among the nivaranas, among the obstacles which make samadhi impossible. When we enter the first dhyana, first it is said we have removed kama raga and other defilements which are connected with kama raga. We have dvesha because we have kama raga. We have tinamida because we have kama raga. We have udacha kukucha because we have kama raga. And we have doubt also because we have desire. So last time I have mentioned in southern and northern traditions, same, it is very important, especially in these traditions connected to Abhidharma. Actually, the agamas do not explain the process of meditation. They only give a very rough idea. How to proceed in meditation is only explained in the commentaries and especially in the Abhidharma and Abhidharma commentaries. This is same in the southern tradition and in the northern tradition. If we want to understand the process of meditation, how to become samadhi, we have to go to Abhidharma and Abhidharma commentaries. And also the commentaries, the Atakatas and the Tikas, they are based on the Abhidharma. They use the materials of the Abhidharma. And it is basically through the Abhidharma that the differences arise between the different traditions in interpretation of Abhidharma. Abhidharma actually means the Dharma in detail. In the Agamas, we don't have a Dharma in detail. We have to go to Abhidharma to find the Dharma in detail. So in both Theravada tradition and the northern tradition enter into meditation usually through Asubha, Anapana, especially Anapana, which is entrance into the practice of the four foundations of mindfulness. Same in northern, same in southern tradition. And Asubha to reduce the tanha, the lobha. And Anapana to reduce the akusala vitakas, to reduce the unwholesome thinking. So in order to enter meditation, we have to reduce the kama raga and we have to reduce the akusala vitaka, the unhealthy thoughts. Unhealthy thoughts are predominant among the Ditti Charitas. The sensual desires are predominant among the Raga Charitas. So actually Abhidharmakosa classifies all meditators into these two categories. They are the most important. Once one has this base, then in the northern tradition, same in the southern tradition, comes the Chatudhatu Vavatthana, the analysis of the four Mahabhutas, of the four great elements, which is the entrance into the vipassana. The vipassana has to, same like shamatha, same for vipassana. When we practice meditation, meditation means cultivation, we start from the obvious and go slowly to the more and more subtle. The obvious is gross. The more subtle is not obvious. That is why unless we have a certain subtle mind, we will not believe in the advantages, in the subtlety of dhyanas, in the subtlety of vipassana visions, because we are only confronted with the gross objects. We have not penetrated the subtle objects. And the process of meditation, process of becoming sila, samadhi, panya, is the process of sublimation. This is same explained in Mahavibhasha, explained in Visuddhimagga. We cultivate meditation in order to cultivate sublimation. According to the Abhidharma, there are the so-called small wisdom, parita, panya, which is connected to the sphere of perception of the five senses, dominated by the five senses. This is a sphere of perceptions we are familiar with. Then we have the great wisdom concerned with the subtle objects. And this treatise is especially concerned with the subtle objects and acquiring of the subtle objects. Then you have the Mahapanya, then you have the immeasurable wisdom. And immeasurable wisdom is connected with the experience of the Lokutara Jnana, however you call it, the Jnana or Panya, which goes beyond the bondage of the world. So actually the process of meditation is experiencing more and more subtle objects until becoming a Buddha. Now, we have here description, very important, contemplation of the impure, that means the Asubha Bhavana, is of two kinds. The first is connected with disgusting objects, Sanirveda Ashubha, and the other with non-disgusting ones. In Chinese, they translate cultivation of the impure objects, Puqing, and Qing, and the pure objects. Now, this is a special emphasis you will find in the Northern tradition. But you, of course, find it also in Theravada. It is the same, but the names are different. The impure objects, like dead bodies, they can be transformed into pure objects. And the pure objects can be transformed into impure objects. What is pure and what is impure is not objective. There is no objectivity in pure and impure. Now, the most pure object in our mind is, of course, love, metta. The most impure object people don't like most is, of course, the decaying body. Now, meditation on both these objects, according to Abhidharmakosa, according to the northern tradition, is based on adimokshiki manasikara, on an attention based on resolution. We resolute, this is nirvana, this is disgusting. And we get into the samadhi of disgusting. We resolute that these beings are lovable, and we actually see them all lovable when we practice samadhi of metta. The adimokshiki manasikara in the yoga tradition is opposed to the so-called tattva manasikara. In order to get liberation, according to the Mahavibhasha Shastra, mentioned also in Abhidharmakosa, in Mahavibhasha Shastra, a great discussion on the topic. You need a tattva manasikara in order to get realization. You cannot get realization, you cannot remove samyojanas, you cannot remove bondage by adimokshiki manasikara, by attention based on resolution. You can only get liberation by tattva manasikara, attention based on facts, on reality. Now, you will find in Mahavibhasha a great discussion, many pages, whether anapana meditation is also adimokshiki manasikara or purely tattva manasikara. Anyway, most of the yogis in Mahavibhasha Shastra agree that anapana is, as opposed to the asubha bhavana, is the tattva manasikara. It's a meditation based on reality, because the breath is the vayo dhatu. And vayo dhatu has the real characteristic. These characteristics, no matter under what conditions there is a wind, these characteristics will be there. It will always be moving, pushing, supporting. And this is how the reality is measured. Also in Abhidharmakosa, also in the Theravada. The real characteristics, they will be there. Even so, the conventional object disappears, the real characteristics, they will remain. Nobody can challenge that, neither by physical distraction nor by logic. So the characteristic of the wind, inner wind, outer wind, will always be vibration, pushing, supporting. Whenever wind is there, whenever we have the sensation of wind, we will experience it in this way. No exception to the rule. So, the tattva manasikara is the opposite of adimokshiki manasikara. And it is by tattva manasikara that we can cut off defilements. We can reduce defilements by adimokshiki manasikara, by resolution, but we can only cut defilements by taking reality as object. This is the teaching of the Abhidharma. You will find similar principles in Northern Buddhism like in Southern Buddhism. So first we have to know the Sva Lakshana. Only then we will see the Samanya Lakshana. First we have to know the real characteristic of the object, which has duration. Then we will distinguish the common characteristic, which is the impermanence. So the non-beautiful is the adimokshiki manasikara, because we can turn the non-beautiful in mind to beautiful. You have the same principles in Theravada. You can take the bones as a white kasina. You can take the blood as a red kasina. You can take the urine as the yellow kasina. You can take the hair as a black kasina. You don't need to go outside. And how beautiful the blue kasina or red kasina is, shining clearly. But in the Abhidharmakosa, in the northern tradition, this transforming the non-beautiful object, transforming the skeleton into the pure light, is the whole procedure. First you start with different parts of the body, skeleton, inside, outside, see others as skeleton, same in Theravada. This is for the Adi Karmikas, for the beginning meditators. For the intermediate meditators called Krita Parichaya, you can take off the skin, flesh, sinews from one half of the face, and other half of the face you keep with flesh and all the other things, blood, sinews, and so on. And similar you can do with other parts of the body. So you can see how the same object you can turn in mind from non-beautiful to beautiful. Then you concentrate, for those who are advanced, you concentrate in the middle of the between the eyebrows, and that light, according to Sangha I have mentioned before this tradition of the Kashmiri yoga, which Kumarajiva has studied and which went through Kashmir to China, also influenced the Chinese meditation tradition. He says that this beautiful, clear light of meditation between the eyebrows is more powerful than the light of the sun. And you take it from the Asubha Bhavana. So this, you become like this, you become Atikranta Manasikara. You have mastered the meditation on the, what basically was Asubha Bhavana. So this is first division you will find here, which you don't find in Visuddhimagga, the meditation on the so-called impure, or better translation, non-beautiful, is connected with a meditation on beautiful, to see very clearly how we can make the same object in a different way in our mind. Depends on our resolution. So why is it so? There are 6 kinds of desires among beings: colors, shapes, figures, bodily postures, sound, desire for soft touch, and human forms. This is the literal translation. You will find a similar principle also in Yogacara Bhumi Shastra. The different types of skeleton you use according to your predominant attachment. You will find the same idea on Asubha Bhavana in the Visuddhimagga. According, if you attach to the Varna, to the colors, then you should use the Vinilaka, you should use this blue. When the corpse turns blue, you should use such things, or when it starts becoming full of pus. Then the samstana, when the shape, you should take the body when it is disintegrating, or when it is divided into different parts. So for different types of the dead bodies are suitable for different types of attachment. In Abhidharmakosa, you will find not 6, you will find 4. Varna, samstana, sparsha, and what was the other? Upachara. So according to these, you will find a suitable object. If you have attachment to color, if you have attachment to shape, if you have attachment to touch, especially the soft touch, erotic, and if you have attachment to persons, then you choose the suitable dead body. The Abhidharmakosa says that the meditation on the corpse is suitable for all meditators practicing the Asubha Bhavana. The others, 9 or 10 types of dead bodies in different stages of decay, suitable according to the types of attachment. So this is decided by the teacher now. Maybe it's worthwhile to mention here in Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, on the base of this turning Asubha to Subha, Subha to Asubha, you have 6 kinds of Asubha. You have so-called dirty Asubha, and it is connected with our text. The dirty Asubha is of 2 types, also in Theravada. Is Saviññānaka and Aviññānaka. Saviññānaka, the impure object or non-beautiful object, which is living, which still have a mind inside. So this is meditation on 36, or in Theravada 32 bodily parts. They have nothing to do with anatomy. They are just for the sake of getting disgust with the body. The hair is very beautiful, but when you take one by one, you will become disgusted. Same teeth is very beautiful. If you take one by one, you will find no beauty in it. The hair of bodies may look very beautiful, but when you take one by one, nothing beautiful. Similarly for skin, flesh, all parts of the body, when separated from the whole, have nothing to do with beauty. Now, the Aviññānaka Asubha, of course, the dead body may look very beautiful in the beginning when we die in a good conditioning, smiling. Many of us die like that. But after some time, nobody can even enter the room because it smells terribly. So it is very easy to identify the body in different stages of decay with non-beautiful. But living body, you have to take apart to conceive it as a non-desirable object. So in you can extend the scope of Asubha, and this is indeed done in the northern tradition according to Yogacara Bhumi Shastra. You can take the suffering also as Asubha. You can take the inferior state of perception. That means here our Kama Dhatu, the sphere of perception based on the 5 senses, as being the Asubha, non-desirable. Asubha means non-beautiful. Non-beautiful is non-desirable. Then you have a comparative Asubha. The beautiful ladies in our sphere of perception, be it the Miss of the world, they look extremely ugly compared to the heavenly nymphs and so on. And it is said about the Sariputta that even the wise Sariputta, he can contemplate on these heavenly nymphs as asubha. Then all the kleshas are also asubha. And finally, impermanence you can also take as asubha. Impermanence is also a non-beautiful object. So on the base of this division between the beautiful and non-beautiful, by resolution you can make the whole of samsara as being the something non-desirable. So here also the text extends the scope of asubha. You can contemplation can be directed towards the corpse which has decayed or not yet decayed. Now the text says as to the contemplation of the impure, there are two methods of asubha. The first, this contemplation will then lead to revulsion, nirveda. Having grasped the disgusting signs, same description like in the Visuddhimagga. Having grasped the disgusting, Visuddhimagga explains very much in detail how to go to the cemetery, how to grasp the sign. First one has to announce in the Sangha and so on, the monk, that he is going to such and such place because they were not safe. Then he takes the sign, meditates there, and then returns to the monastery, and so on and so on. There is a whole procedure how to meditate on a sign of non-beautiful. Then comparing it with one's own body, I am inevitably to become like this, as the Visuddhimagga explains also. Then, having seized very firmly this non-beautiful sign, he meditates and goes into the samadhi of asubha. Then another one, it is interesting here, this refers to the first is aviññānaka asubha, second is saviññānaka asubha. So saviññānaka asubha, he analyzes in accordance with what he has remembered from the instruction of the teacher. So first, normally we will not conceive the hair as non-beautiful or the teeth as not beautiful. The teeth in the smile of a beautiful lady or a man can be very attractive. So the teacher has to explain that don't care about the smile, don't care about the white teeth, take one by one apart, and you can get same nirvana like on a dead body, same disgust like on a bed. And the same object also can become, as we have said, the object of the beautiful white shining light. So here are explained the 36 bodily parts. We don't need to go through it. In Visuddhimagga you have 32 bodily parts. The Visuddhimagga description is especially interesting. You have, after describing all the bodily parts, it goes to the Matalunga, to the brain, and after brain it goes to the feces. Very interesting. So in this way, this body is nothing but accumulation of all kinds of impurities. So the meditator sees nothing but impure by resolution. Same like in meditation of the metta. When you are successful in the meditation on metta, you will see every creature as being similar to the most lovable being. No distinction. By resolution. So when you see everything disgusting, what will you get? Samvega. How to translate samvega? You will be shaken inside. And when you are shaken inside, you are ready for a serious meditation, for a serious cultivation. If we are not shaken, if we don't have samvega, same principle you will find in Visuddhimagga. If we are not deeply shaken inside, we will not have samvega. If we don't have samvega, we will not bother to confront the obstacles. And there is no meditation, there is no serious cultivation without confronting the obstacles. So the next part is dealing exclusively how to cultivate the samvega. The object here clearly is a monk. So he has to meditate. He is dependent on charity. If he does not practice hard, he is not worth of this charity, and so on. And that means why he is not worthy of the charity, because he is still desperately attached to this body. So this is the samvega part. There is a very nice story in the commentaries that Buddha has taught this Asubha Bhavana to 500 monks. No, Buddha has taught this, I don't think there is mentioned 500, has taught to the Sangha this Asubha Bhavana, and maybe 500 monks. I think when you read the Agamas, 500 does not necessarily mean 500. It means a big number, maybe 20, 30, who knows. So the 500 monks, they committed suicide. And after that, the Buddha is said to have, to the rest of the Sangha, he has taught the Anapana meditation. So Samvega is very necessary, but it has to be rooted in faith and in wisdom. That is why it is so important to connect the Asubha Bhavana with Subha Bhavana and Subha Bhavana with Asubha Bhavana. Balance the mind. So same explain also in Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, same explain in Visuddhimagga. When you get dejected, you have to gladden the mind. When the mind is exuberant, you have to connect it with some stabilizing object, and so on. Always balance the mind. Visuddhimagga explains very clearly, in order to get into meditation, on the base of sati, you have to balance the 5 faculties. Only then you will be able to practice samadhi. And samadhi means some adhana, the application of the mind to the object. Of which mind? Of the mind in balance. And who brings balance to the mind? The sati does, the mindfulness does. If there is no power of mindfulness, no way to go into meditation. Why? Because if you have too much faith, not balanced by samadhi, not balanced by wisdom, then it will only bring excitement into the mind. If you have too much wisdom, not balanced by samadhi, by faith, it will only bring depression into the mind. All is anicca, all is dukkha, all is anatta. If you have only samadhi, not balanced by faith, not balanced by wisdom, then it will only bring tinamida, sloth and torpor into the mind. And who prevents this tendency? The mindfulness. So when the disgust is getting too much, you have to turn to the pure object. When the pure object brings too much exaltation, you have to turn to impure object. Balance the mind. So this is what the text explains. Sometimes it becomes necessary to let the mind rejoice. When there is samvega due to nirvana, due to disgust, you have to make it rejoice. And how you make it rejoice? Of course, we have mentioned the protective meditation. You meditate on the Buddha. So these are common in all Buddhist traditions. So after practicing, first explaining the meditation on the non-beautiful in juxtaposition with a meditation on the beautiful, then the samvega from nirvana explained in juxtaposition with the letting the mind, the gladdening the mind, letting the mind rejoice. And contemplating all the advantages of the Dharma. And again, we have from nirvana to gladdening, from gladdening to nirvana, until the mind is in balance. Then when the mind is balanced, the text says, the wind of vexation has been blowing to disturb my mind. Yet, because I desire to obtain the path, the 5 kinds of desires for superior pleasant sensual objects could not corrupt me, needless to say, the mean ones. So one is ready for serious meditation. The time the mind is balanced. And the sati does the job. If the sati does not do the job, the mind will not be balanced. The northern tradition explained the base of sati being the wisdom. The southern tradition explained the characteristic of the lakhana of sati being apilapana. Apilapana means not wobbling, which means samadhi. But actually, in sati, the samadhi and wisdom, they unite. But the samadhi is not the jhana samadhi, and the wisdom is not a lokutara wisdom. Yet, what is the difference between us and the Buddha? The sati of the Buddha, and therefore the samadhi of the Buddha, has no interruption. When the sati has no interruption, the samadhi has no interruption. When the samadhi has no interruption, the sati has no interruption. So sati is the condition of sampajanya, and the sampajanya means wisdom. So when the mind is balanced, we become an arahat. And for an arahat, we have this Theragata. You will find in Theravada, you will find similar verses in northern tradition. Some slight difference. We do not need to go into the slight differences. So the same verse and the same story you will find in Theravada as in the northern Buddhism, of Maudgaleana being meeting a courtesan which wants to seduce him. Of course, Maudgaleana is having a good time. What a funny girl trying to do with me. He sees this well-adorned courtesan as the walking latrine. This is how Maudgaleana is being seduced. Now, that much for today. We have covered the first section of Asubha, and we are ready to go into the next 2 sections in the coming week. So that much for today. We can do the transference of merit, and if there are any questions, we can go into them now. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. So if I can request anyone who has questions could either type them in the chat box and Bhante can address them one by one. You can also raise your hand and I will unmute you and then you can ask Bhante yourself. We have about 20-25 minutes.
Well, we don't need to be, let's we can do Indian time more, not be concerned too much with minutes.
Okay.
We can do sometimes little less, sometimes little more. If there are no questions, then we can.
We have one already, Bhante. This gentleman is asking, Mr. Ashish Arora is asking, what is the difference between northern and southern traditions?
The difference is you may have heard that after the parinirvana of Buddha, slowly the Sangha split into different groupings, which are called sects, sampradaya, but actually they were in the beginning more groupings than any systematic sampradaya sect. These groupings also very often had a territorial association. They were not always connected with doctrinal differences. It is very important to understand. India, when Buddhism spread, especially after the Samrat Ashoka, the different regions had the different groupings of Buddhists using different languages. So then eventually when the commentaries came as an important part of the tradition, first they were the oral tradition, then they came to be written down. Then these commentaries, they became actually the base for formation of the sects. Now, what we call the Southern Buddhism is also, even so the Southern Buddhism does not like to see it in this way, it is also was kind of one of the many groupings that existed in India that used the Pali language as its vehicle. No matter whether Pali language we as a tradition would like to have it explained as the language of the of Magadha, of Buddha, in which the Buddha has taught, or as kind of lingua franca of Buddhists after the Asoka emperor, because it's similar to the language of Asoka's inscriptions, but only similar, not very much far from identical. Whatever the Southern Buddhism vehicle of its scriptures, in which the scriptures were written down and then passed over to Southeast Asia, first to Mon, then to Thailand, Burma, Cambodia. Then these scriptures of Southern Buddhism are in Pali. Now, it is the so-called northern tradition started to use Sanskrit as a vehicle for its transmission. And Sanskrit is of course the language of the literati of India, which connected all different regions. And this was a merit of the Sarvastivadins to start to propagate Buddhism in Sanskrit language. Then the Buddhism which has spread through the Sanskrit language came to be called the Northern Buddhism. And the Buddhism that was propagated through the Pali language is called the Southern Buddhism. Southern Buddhism in the later period continued to be concerned with explaining the path of how to become an Arahat, how to become a Shravaka Buddha, the Buddha disciple, while the Northern Buddhism, since maybe quite early times, showed a clear preference for the path of the Bodhisattva. The path of the Bodhisattva is also explained, but not in detail, in the Jatakas and so on, in the Southern Buddhism, but it became the main concern of the Northern Buddhism to explain how, so to say, one is to become same like a Buddha. So this great corpus of the Buddhism also came to be known as Northern Buddhism. But Northern Buddhism is actually Buddhism in Sanskrit. But we should avoid the terms Mahayana and Hinayana because nobody wants to be called an inferior vehicle. This is a pejorative term, not very suitable, especially in our times where we have to emphasize the unity among the Buddhists. So to avoid this Hinayana, Mahayana classification, we speak of the Southern and Northern tradition. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. There are some more questions. There is one about Ashubha Bhavna itself. This participant is asking, like you said, dead bodies are disgusting. And if we separate hair or teeth, it's not beautiful anymore. But why should we look at bodies in this way when the body as a whole is created beautifully?
Oh, very good questions. It is very simple because we have Kama Raga, and the Kama Raga is an obstacle to cultivation. When we have Kama Raga and we do not know how to sublimate it, then we will never get a peace of mind because we will always have mean desire to possess the body. When we want to possess our own body, we will also want to possess the other body. This is the rule. Why we want to possess other body? Because we want to possess our own body. So getting detached from the body is the process of also inside, outside, getting detached from the body in general. Unless we detach from the body, we will never get deep into the meditation. It is impossible. So we have explained the meditation on the non-beautiful is not because the body is non-beautiful. The body is neither beautiful nor non-beautiful. Body is what we actually take it for. But it has to become non-beautiful if we are always agitated by observing the body and want to possess the body. Buddhism teaches that we do not possess anything. What we possess is a non-possession, and that is difficult to understand. Okay, some more question?
Yes, please, Bhante. There is a request from Ms. Sangamitra Banerjee. Could you explain Samadhi and Anapanasati a little more, please?
Oh, that would be a long explanation.
Yes, I realize. But if you could just help with...
Anapana is usually also in Satipatthana Sutta. It is the entrance into the practice of mindfulness. And without, from the Buddhist point of view, without mindfulness, no wisdom. And without wisdom, also no mindfulness. So the Anapana is the best object to enter into the practice of mindfulness. Why? Because when we observe the breath, automatically we turn the attention inside. And unless we turn the attention inside, we will not get the concentration. Impossible. And unless we get the concentration, we will never get a liberating wisdom. And the Buddhism is a science of liberating wisdom. It's nothing else than that. Yoga, which is also related to Buddhism. Buddhism is, in a way, part of the yoga tradition, is nothing but the wisdom of concentration, natural concentration. Now, because we are not wise, we do not practice natural concentration. That's why we have defilements. Our mind is not balanced. This is same in northern tradition, in southern tradition. Only the means to bring the mind into balance are different. And according to Buddhism, there is no wisdom without the means. There is no means without the wisdom. They have to come together. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante. There are a couple of more questions. One gentleman asks if we wish to embark on a systematic study, which text would you recommend? Should we start with the Abhidharmakosa or what would you recommend?
Well, if we interested in the Sanskrit tradition, and in India, Sanskrit is the base for the whole tradition, so it's good to start with Abhidharmakosa. There is also a good Hindi tradition, a good Hindi translation. But Abhidharmakosa is quite deep and quite you can use also some easier explanations. There are so many popular books explaining how to go into meditation, how to, in Tibetan tradition, in Chinese tradition. So one can study Abhidharmakosa parallel with some useful popular modern books.
Thank you. Bhante, can I ask the next one?
Next one?
Yes, there is one more question. Could I ask
Yes,
now?
sure.
So this participant asks that it seems for those of the Abrahamic or other creator-centered traditions who view reality as a creation of God, then the teachings of the Buddha would seem insulting to creation. Is there any way to bridge these traditions?
Yeah, of course, it is done. When you study Tibetan Buddhism, there have been some intercourse with this tradition. They speak of Adi Buddha and so on. The Buddhist religion is a process. The religion of Moses, it was very, very different from the religion of present Muslims and the Christians. Similarly, the early Buddhism is very different from what we are learning as Buddhism nowadays. Buddhism is a process. And we, in a superficial meaning of religion, is a ritual. This is the meaning we usually take it. Especially in the Western world, when you say religion, it means a certain ritual. But linguistically, religion means religere, which means to relink again to what is real in us. And we definitely all need, this is a job of spirituality. We definitely, as human beings, when we want to understand the depths of being the human being and the beauty of being the human being, we need spirituality. But we do not necessarily need Buddhism. Why I became so interested in Buddhism? The Buddhism is the only religion which teaches that even religion you have to discard. Even Dharma you have to discard. But first, before discarding Dharma, you have to discard the Adharma. So Dharma is just a raft, you call it in English, raft, or boat, which takes you to the other shore. We should not cling to this boat or to this raft. If we do that, it is empty ritual. The Buddha was revolutionary in India because India, as we all know, is the country of rituals. Hinduism is the religion of rituals. But Buddha refused to acknowledge ritual as the valid means of knowledge, as pramana. We need samadhi to know real religion. And this is in India the Shramana tradition. The Buddhism belongs to this tradition of Shramana. Spirituality based on one's own experience, not based on any tradition. This is what Buddha teaches to the Kalamas. So we all need spirituality to be really humans, but we do not necessarily need any religion. But religion can be very helpful for spirituality. But it can also, especially in our times, it can also be hindrance to spirituality. And this is especially easily understood in our times, where religion is not to unite the mankind, but to divide the mankind. The aim of the great religious thinkers was to unite the mankind. Christ also, the Buddha also, the great Indian yogis, the great prophets, they were spiritual because they wanted to unite the mankind, not to divide. Okay?
Yes, I think that's it as far as the questions are concerned for today.
Time also, that's it.
Yes.
So now
Yes.
let us transform merit for the benefit of all sentient beings, and we will meet again on next Wednesday.
Yes.
Eta vata cha amehi sampatam punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabha sampati siddhya. Eta vata cha amehi sampatam punya sampadam sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabha sampati siddhya. Eta vata cha amehi sampatam punya sampadam sabbe satta anumodantu sabha sampati siddhya. Aka satta chabumatha deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chiramarakantu loka sasana. Aka satta chabumatha deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chiramarakantu desana. Aka satta chabumatha deva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chiramarakantu tumampara. Devo vasatu kalene sasa sampati hotu cha pito bhavatu loko cha raja bhavatu dhammiko. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that much for today, and see you next Wednesday, and I will show Supriya the beautiful room and surrounding. Okay, I can open.
Thank you so much.
I can open
Yes.
the phone now.
Let me end the meeting, Bhante. Otherwise, you will get a lot of echoes. I will close the meeting.
Okay.
Just give me 2 seconds. Thank you, everyone. And if you have any questions or anything you need, write to us, and we will help you the best we can. Thank you for joining, and Bhante, thank you so much for your time, for your compassion, and for sharing your wisdom. See you next Wednesday.